Okay, hello, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. My name is Jarne. You find me on Healing Magic 27 on Instagram and YouTube as well. And I'm having a special guest in the Higher State Show, Suzanne Thompson. And we will talk about education, leadership, and relationships today, as they're all topics we have to discuss. And we want to bring a little bit of perspective to this whole topic and trustfully awake some new thought patterns within you so we can create a change, as I haven't been very happy about the education system that I grew up with, and I struggled a lot. I went through trauma after trauma, 12 years of school. And yeah, I know that Suzanne is very beautifully informed and is working in that space as well. So thanks for being here, Suzanne.
Thank you for inviting me and welcoming me. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's start with education and the education system. So tell the listeners a little bit about your background in that and what makes you an expert in this field.
So I'll start with the past. So I spent 25 years as a change agent within government systems across Australia. So all levels, we have 3 levels of government here, and so that did involve working in different portfolios. And one of those portfolios, which was close to heart for me, was education. At a time back in the around 2007, when we did a massive reform to education. And so I'm not a teacher by degree, but I am a teacher of all things around project management and change. So, and then fast forward to 2012, when the world changed for me and I became a first-time parent. And now in 2023, I'm a parent of 2 amazing humans, and I'm 100% solely responsible for their care and guiding them to wherever they are destined to go. And so one is 8 and the other is 10. So we've got Jackson, who's 10, and Saffron, who's 8. And they're currently in the public education system here in South Australia. Jackson has both of them have delved into other states as well in their early years. So for me now, navigating through bringing them into an education system, going from early learning, which is from 0 to 5, then moving them into primary education, which is where they currently are seated, and then already looking forward to where they're transitioning, because Jackson's not far off from transitioning into high school in 2025. So my expertise is understanding how the education system actually, in a lot of ways, is still structured the way that it's to create workers. So it is still a system that was created over 100 years ago, and we're still from the Industrial Revolution. So we're still working through leaving that and transforming into what is the future of education. So for me, as a change agent, I have that ability to be able to see the future and hear what educators and leaders of schools want for themselves as leaders, their educators, their students and young people, and the community.
Let's go into that. What is the future of education?
So by listening to a myriad of amazing humans and leaders across the world, and that is either by creating relationships with them virtually or in person, doing research, receiving a lot of information from different resources. We have to acknowledge that there's this we have to first of all acknowledge what is the current state of the education system, and then ask the questions of what would your sort of 100%, or what would your actual goal be, and bringing that in, not just for the school leader. It's also meeting the young people where they're at, asking those questions and saying, and hearing and listening and observing.
Yeah.
We had this conversation, you know, we've mentioned the power of the word. So yeah, observing what goes on.
So
So
I think like we can just bring it all together. Like, what does the leader needs to do in a relationship with the students to educate them in a way that they do need the education to be in? And like for me, like it is about relationships. Like, how do we teach them, or ourselves even, right? As collective, as all humans, not just the education system for children, because I believe like we have to change the way how we educate ourselves, and the form of and what we do educate in terms of like what topics do we need to be educated in. And this is like, who are we,
yeah,
right? Like
agreed. Like,
sexuality is a big one that is currently around as well. Like when we see with transgender and transgenders, right? Gay or lesbian gay people, however you want to look at it. But this is something very frequent. And I know that I had really something to struggle with in my early childhood with understanding this whole concept, because I wasn't educated in that I do have masculine and feminine within my male body. Although I am representing a male figure in this lifetime, no one told me that it's okay to have also a feminine side, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
again, in terms of the leadership, like how does the leader needs to show up for the students, right? To educate them in a way that is supporting their relationship with self, with themselves, to help them like, what is the relationship that I have with myself, right? I'm Jarne and 24, and I learned in the last years to have a good relationship with myself. I know many people don't even have this in adulthood, which is a whole nother topic, right? So the leaders, we even have to educate the leaders
Do.
in who are we, right? Like, who
Yeah,
are we to the core of our essence?
that's
Yeah,
right.
give me your take on.
So the who am I, the what am I, uh, the it's the question, it's the understanding of the self, and that's the self with the capital S, as in like the internal. And you know, I don't always want to parentheses it, is that there's a little s and a big S, but sometimes it's just to understand that we're not talking about, you know, the individual, we're actually talking about the collective, the oneness, and that we all are connected. And so that self-inquiry is not taught at school. And I mean, you're like, I mean, I'm, you know, I'm double your age. So I mean, I'm 50. So the thing is that at least you're in a space where you have access to guides or leaders that you can have these conversations with, that are at least aligned, or you know, there's that integrity that exists. I mean, for me, it was like we had to, it was a different
We had
level
to
of
dig deep to
navigation.
find them, yes.
Yeah, we did. We had to dig very deep. You know, most probably that's why I ended up studying archaeology, I suppose. So there you go.
Yeah,
like, you know, it
yeah.
is where it is. It's like, where are the teachers? Where are the leaders? And we would get them from stories, I suppose, or just remembering. So by that digging deep and then working in this, is that, so the self-inquiry, and that is that ability to be able to be still. And, you know, no matter, I mean, the teachers and guides that, well, I call them teachers, the teachers and guides that I've been drawn to and learned from and been and worked with over the years, that ability to be able to self-inquire and actually ask those questions, and then feel comfortable to be able to have that commentary with another human, And as you said, there are adults. So in other words, there's these adults that are becoming parents that also themselves haven't done this self-inquiry. And so then and we have to understand that sometimes as parents, it's actually not our role, or it's not in our makeup to actually guide. We may not be the responsible person to help them. We want that will close the gap, that will dissolve that where we're heading. But being able to have a conversation with your own child, but at least finding someone or asking and allowing that to come into, be able to, as you said, have those conversations. Like, as you said, what is masculine and feminine? What's the difference? Why is male and female? When, we have to change the narrative. But what we also have to understand is that there is the information already exists. It's being talked about.
Why do I experience love in a way that I love male and female, right? Like this whole topic, and it can make someone feel weird when those answers are not given. But even if you ask teachers this question, I rarely believe that many of them can answer you the question in a way that they're not feeling triggered because they haven't done the work yet. And then again, if you ask the teachers, who are you? What do you mean also with the self-inquiry, right? Like if you ask them, who are you? Why are you here? Even they can't really tell you. And in the world that we're living in right now, like those questions, I've asked myself this with 10, even before that, right? I remember, or like 14 even, like still growing up, I'm like, whoa, what am I here to do? And like many people don't ask themselves the questions. Many people don't wake up before they're had their midlife crisis, right? There are a few who start to think out of the box earlier than the most of the people. And then again, like it is easy to look away, but for them, or because it is following with the mainstream, rather than to do it differently and to do it the way that feels actually aligned with who you are. Though alignment with who you are, if we're not having a proper education about the relationship with ourselves, then again, like where do we need to start there? And this whole topic is just awesome to talk about.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely, because we all, I'll bring it back where it also comes to that when we came into this world, we actually chose the parents to this as a soul. We chose where we were, the shell that we were going to come into. I chose
and the
this
people
shell.
who are listening this show, you believe in this, right? Other than that, you wouldn't watch this show, I think. You would think
right.
like they're nuts. What do they talk about? Like soul?
Yeah. And it's, and the thing is that even if they don't believe it though, Jana, it's something that they can at least hear, and then it's their choice to to maybe inquire more if it poses some form of interest.
Exactly.
And then the next level is the fact that we actually choose our parents. And then on the harder level to understand is that our parents are actually the perfect parents for us.
Yeah.
And so I myself only really deeply honored that and worked through that over the last 12 months. I mean, and it changed the relationship that I have. I no longer, I'm no longer attached to some of that. There's no blame or judgment or anything like that at all. It's like, this is the journey and this is where we are. And then and everything, when we arrive here, we actually arrive with all that we need. We've just placed it somewhere or just need to remember where we placed it. And so, and that's and to come back, as you said, it's like asking those questions where even the teachers or the leaders are going through that. I mean, it's something that constantly needs to be done. It's a practice. It's a practice to do that. It's actually an honor to yourself to ask yourself that question on a regular basis.
Self-love.
Self-love. That is what self-love is. And then changing the understanding of what love is. Like, there's the system and the has created this distorted view that it's and even with the word relationship as well, it's, you know, we've tacked on this word called friendship, you know, so therefore then it seems, and then that, and it's like, okay, well, what does friends mean, you know? So
yeah.
so it's
I've
like
been
with
confused. I've been confused with that too, and like relationship, friendship, and like then you say girlfriend, and then also with the English language, it's not my mother language. And when we learn English in school, and then like, yeah, girlfriend and boyfriend, but do I call them friend or do I call it girlfriend? It can be a girlfriend, but it's not my girlfriend in terms of an really intimate, like sexual level relationship. And like, it is a whole confusion in my head that I had difficulties to put my head around. I could never really make sense of it because I feel the system somehow is also designed to keep us stuck in confusion. And as soon as we start becoming aware of it, then like, what can we do to tap out of there without feeling shame or blame? Because then again, like when we do feel those feelings, this is why people have difficulties to talk about it, because they feel ashamed. I felt ashamed to talk about my sensitive nature. I felt ashamed to go out and to cry in public just because I felt like it, right? And those limiting beliefs that we choose to put on place on us, okay, yes, also through social conditioning for sure, and DNA, we can all override those things if we really want it. If I want to change my DNA, then I can change it. Epigenetics as well, right? Like, it is not what I came here with, that we can go out there. And for anyone who hasn't looked up Bruce Lipton, like, please do so, and the work that he is doing, because it really shows us what is possible. Like, we are not stuck where we're at. We can change at any given time if we make the decision to do so.
And they're not miracle. Well, they're sometimes perceived as miracles, but the thing is that a miracle is generally, it means a one-off. But when you actually start seeing it, they're patterns. You know, so it's that ability to be able to change the way we, you know, our DNA, or the way that we think in our brain patterns. And I mean, and meditation does that, you know, like that's one other practice, you know, it's, and it's, and there's, it can take different things, but there has to be an intention behind it, you know. So, because the thing is that, you know, for years I mean I stepped in the space where I just used to, everything would get overwhelming. I used to call it crisis meditation. And then once I, you know, started reading and delving in more, or actually observing more of what I was reading, which was along the lines of Ram Dass and Bruce Lipton and even Jung, and David Hawkins, there's an ability to be able to see what we can do and what we have the ability to do. And we as leaders, no matter where we are in that lineage, as in, so for me, it's like I look forward to the generation before me. So, you know, the people that are 20 years older than me, and I thank them and I honor them and I love them and tell the truth to them, and you know, for what I've learned and what I know, and then understand it, and then that needs to continue. So it's like, you know, we need to keep thanking the people before us, and then there's that ability to be able to, as you said, like ask those questions and feel comfortable. And, you know, we need to change the narrative. Like, I mean, I was raised with the whole line of, you know, big girls don't cry, you know, big boys don't cry, we don't show our emotions, you always got to be happy and all that sort of stuff. And this is where it comes down to, what is love? Like, people have this whole thing that love is like rose-colored glasses and it's always sunshine and all of that. And if it's a cloudy day, people go, oh my God, it's a cloudy day, I'm feeling blue. And it's like, well, actually, no, the sun is still shining. There's just some weather pattern that's just covered it. So it's still shining bright. You know,
but also the pattern, the clouds in the middle are beautiful to look at if we allow ourselves to do so. Even the rain, right? I love rain. I love to feel the rain. Like there's always something that we can take with it. And then we appreciate the sun even more when it's there.
That's right.
Good. But yeah, I mean, the understanding of love is something that I really love talking about, because I say love is not all about butterflies, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes
true.
like the German word is Schmetterling and doesn't sound as beautiful than butterfly. But yeah, Schmetter means like smashing basically, because it smashes its wings, right? Like in the way that it's done. But
Well, it's interesting because the thing is that it's like, we look at only just butterflies, but we don't appreciate moths, and,
yeah, yeah.
and from a First Nations perspective here in Australia, I mean, they were highly significant more than the butterflies. Like, the thing is that the moths, like the bogons, were a food source, and but they also, because of that whole transformational process that they go through as well, there's a lot of significance. So it's a story that's there. But yeah, it's not all butterflies, and this is where it's like, for me, what hit home, like as a child, I was always questioning. It was like, being kind. I understand that it's like I didn't understand that we do live in an ampersand world. We do. We live in this and world, and we have to have that understanding of that and what that actually means. Light and dark, love, and I'm still trying to figure out what the other opposite side is, because it's like it's a hard word. But the thing is that love
Some people
is,
say fear.
yeah.
Some people say fear, and then whatever comes with fear, right? Some people have fear and then they start to hate. Some people have fear and they start to judge. Some people start, it's just everything that is kind of against.
False evidence appearing real,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then
So
again, like we have also this an acronym like fear, face everything and rise, or face everything and run,
yeah, exactly.
or
Yeah.
fear everything. However, yeah, it's the
Yeah, and
principle
yeah,
behind that, right?
it is the same thing, like, I mean, Wayne Dyer was the first person that I heard that said false evidence appearing real, which is
Yeah,
like, so it's, and then, yeah, face everything can rise or run,
yeah.
that's the primordial brain.
Hmm.
But with love, what it is that you have the ability to be able to have a conversation with someone, and then it comes down to communications, comes back to relationships, and it doesn't matter that it's not about the actual physical out shell, if it's male and female, or wherever it fits within the LGBTQIA plus. I think I've got the right acronym. Wherever it fits in the inclusiveness, and I think that's one of those topics that's quite challenging, because the thing is that what you to come back to, you said, you were never told or guided to understand that we have this balance between what is masculine and feminine energy. There's traits that are connected to both, that dance, and it is a dance between both of them to reach alignment, and they both play a very important role.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to have that in equilibrium, and there's no right or wrong way, because the thing is that it's like, if someone does something to you or says something to you that in your heart that it's either not true, or it hurts you, or and you can fit there, and it's, or someone does something, yeah, really unkind, the emotions are allowed to be there. It's
It's
just
about
the
us to learn to express them in a way that is respectful, right?
yeah.
And kind.
Well, like, as what's his name that wrote, no, it's gone. Anyway, it'll come back. But the book, it's Viktor Frankl. There we go. So he talks about, between stimulus and response. So there's this gap, and that gap is the choice of how you respond.
Yeah, some people react and they do not respond. There's the difference. So the reaction is out of the nervous system. If the nervous system has experienced some trauma and it's somehow stuck, right? And then people do react and they're saying, oh shit, I don't want to react like that. But then rather than to dig deep and to find the cause of the reaction and really to sit with what happened, people look away and people move on, right? And people are not really focusing enough. I feel, I see, I know through observation
Mm.
that people are rarely willing to go into the pain.
Yeah.
And then again, like, I mean, pain and pleasure, right? If you look at the principle, we can't really realize one without having experienced the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for me, love, right? Like, we have to go into everything that we experience. And if it's an uncomfortable feeling, okay, yes, what is it telling me? And I have to be willing to go there, because if I don't go there, then I'll never be happy, never
Yeah.
will find out what true fulfillment is, or maybe even bliss, right? Bliss is a state of being that I now can say that I can achieve on will. Like, I can turn it on, and I can go there with on that
Yeah.
frequency through the
That's,
choices then again that I made, and learned to respond rather than to react out of a fear response.
yeah, and it's how you respond, and then and with that responding, you are adjusting,
Mm,
and then you are aware of then how you're actually going to communicate.
yeah.
And so it's it's understanding and actually allowing it. And so and that's what leadership is that so you to be able to understand that and then communicate that and share that to those that want to hear
Mm,
or that are ready to hear, because sometimes it doesn't, and we have to also accept it, we can't be there for all people. And sometimes it's like even for our own children we're not the right
mhm.
person sometimes to communicate certain things. And so and we're not meant to know everything at all, you know.
There's
And
again like letting go of that we have to know everything, right? It's again like being okay with not knowing, and
mm,
knowing that we don't need to know everything, and really being totally fine with that. But
it's
like
trust.
the human, yeah, but because of the lack of trust, people do assume.
Yep.
And in the moment that people start to assume, like they turn out to tell themselves stories. And this is what we start doing when we were little,
Very young. Yep.
because our parents eventually haven't parts of the life or parts of the dynamic, they haven't been able to express their emotions in a way that was healthy, that was kind, that was true,
Hmm.
right? They haven't shared their pain with us in a way. They talked the story around the pain, though they haven't talked about the pain. So if I look back into my childhood, and we had couches that have been just like time we change, right? And I'm like, wow, don't we have money to get a new couch? Like, what happens? We live in this house, like we have a big garden, we have a house, we have like we fly on holiday every year. And I kind of couldn't put my head around why we haven't got like new couches, as an example. And I made up a story in my head. What was the story about? That we don't have enough or something like that?
Not
Whatever,
enough.
but
I'm not
not
enough.
enough.
Yeah.
I'm not enough. We are not enough. We don't have enough. Whatever it might be, it goes into that direction, and it carried along in adulthood. And
Yeah.
today, still, like with I last week, 2 weeks ago, I bought 2 new hoodies. Like that I do this is super rare. I was running around with one hoodie for the last 12 months, right? Like to just like one hoodie, one thing, and that was it, like a day in, day out, basically, because there was still this program, and I'm working on it daily, to sit down with myself and to like, wow, I really want it and I need it. And
Yes, because it's cold.
I do need it too. It's not Bali, right? It is a little bit colder here, but however, like, I had to really see and sit with it, and it's a continuous process of growth and expansion, and allowing ourselves to reflect and to do what feels right for us, allowing ourselves to receive the pleasures, also if it feels uncomfortable on first hand, because we're not taught that being comfortable doesn't bring us anywhere,
Hmm.
right? Like, I say we become comfortable in the uncomfortable, because I don't even want to name it uncomfortable. It is very exciting. People are anxious to go there, but it's very exciting to go there. And
Hmm.
it's expansion, it's growth, it's transformation. right? And the transformation is again back to the butterfly. The butterfly transforms. And who says that it's not painful to grow wings out of nothing,
Well,
right?
actually, the caterpillar actually dies. See,
Mm,
that the bit that bit actually is because people sort of talk about transformation, but what they don't understand is that the caterpillar actually dissolves it into muck, gel,
yeah.
and it technically dies to then transform. And then it's got to do some hard yakka because it's actually got to break out. So this is the thing. It's like everyone thinks it's easy,
And it stands
and
there and it's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I have wings. Am I going to jump? Am I, am I going to jump now,
there's no
guys?
instruction book. There's no one there standing behind you going, hello, hello, hello. It's just that it
Yeah.
just instinctively just does it. And
Mm.
it trusts itself that it's there. It just starts, it goes, hang on, I've got these things, and it starts to move. And then they start to dry, and then the wings come. And it's like, so, and we have that as, we actually, that instinct, that beautiful natural space is in us as children. I mean, there's lots of other evidence of that sort of stuff, even from the moment that we're born, but I won't go into that. That's another story, another time, another episode. But yeah, with children is like there's this ability to, they actually speak truth from the beginning, and they are the best teachers for us all. It's the ability as an adult to actually honor that and sit with that and go, okay. And that's a big lesson. And
We
that's
have
a
to
big
look at
teach.
our shit, don't we?
You seriously have to look at your own shit. You have to. And you got to sit in it. And then the thing is that, and then you do something and you might change it, and it does change, but then all of a sudden it'll come back, but in a different way. And then it's like, and it all comes back to what I see, is that when when a young human learns to walk, most times, it doesn't happen immediately. It's a process. It's a process of, giving, if you gave them the facilities, it's like it takes time. And the thing is that we don't pressure them to walk. We don't yell at them if they don't get up and walk. It's like we're not unkind to them.
And it's not leadership, is it?
Yeah,
Yelling is not leadership. Like
that's
being
right.
bossy is not leadership. Putting myself on a pedestal is not leadership.
Yeah. Putting
And like
judgment.
putting
Yeah.
judgment on it, it's not leadership. And like, what is our understanding of leadership then? Like with the children, we have to be patient because we want them to grow. We want them to feel good. We don't want them making cry. We don't want to be responsible for their tears, right? Like this is something I believe it's the most horrible thing. It's what I remember. Like when I cried, like I felt then even the pain that my mother had because I was crying, right? And then like being empathetic or empathic, being this little child, like, and being super aware of everything that goes around, being fresh coming from source and incarnating into this human body, they do see things differently. They're
They
not
do.
having layer after layer after layer in terms of trauma of trauma of trauma and really covering themselves and putting this mask on that they then choose to present in the world, what many people still do on this planet, which is ridiculous and insane. And that we have to talk about those things, that like we have to put the mask off, right? And like what is behind this? What is inside of us? And then again, like what I see now is like we are all human beings. We come here the same way. Our body goes to wherever it goes after this, and our spirit moves on, our soul moves on. This is my understanding of how far I am right now, and the most simplest way that I want to explain it right now.
It
And
is.
what should make me difference to someone, to a Black African, right?
Yeah.
Afro-American, what
Doesn't
makes
matter.
me different? What makes me different to them? Like that we are all human beings. We are one
Stories.
species. Like stories, again, I am
That's what it is.
manipulation or just like separation. We're separating each other. We're living in this world of illusion where it's difficult for us to see that you are mirroring me right now, that everything that I see is actually a reflection of my internal wisdom. And I went crazy when I first like realized what the heck is going on this world. When I realized that everything that I create, the different thoughts, I see different things in other people. And as you can Google, for everyone, like if you Google eyeballs and you stare at this pair of eyeballs for like, and put different emotions in. I've done this in my coaching certification. You are happy, you're sad, you're angry, frustrated, I don't know, joyful, and you take those different states of emotions and you look at the same pair of eyes, you see a different picture.
You do.
It is insane. It is beautiful because it shows us that if we change our way of perceiving it, the world changes. And we can focus either on the negative or on the positive. So what can we learn out of those conversations that we have? What can I learn from you rather than me judging you? Right? I'm love to learn, and I know that you have expertise in areas that I'm not, right? And this is great and this is good. I'm not supposed to know everything, but I can take from you what I need, and then I can work and implement it in a way that resonates with me, right? And then many people, they take knowledge from other people, the same with the school system, right? We're creating a product that works the same way. We're creating little humans. We're growing up, we're going to school, and they teach us the same way, but I'm learning a different way than you learn it, right? I do have different strengths than you have. I come here for a different purpose than you have, though we're leading to the same way, though we're going there in different ways, right? My travel to Australia might be a different one than your travel from Australia to Europe, or whatever journey we choose to take, but we have to learn to strengthen the human spirit in terms of the uniqueness that we have and supporting the unique ways that we all have within us, because this is how we learn and grow. If we create the same products, right? If we teach people the same way, if I'm learning the same way, if I learn the same things, I lose my joy. And this is what did happen with me in school. I was depressed because it wasn't designed for me. And I know many people are. Of various reasons. I could even go further and further in this. And I just love those conversations because this is me actually expressing my anger that I had when I was there, because I chose not to speak up when I was a child. And I know that children sitting in school right now, being frustrated, actually just want to have fun and learning about things that they know they don't need in 20 years, that maybe they don't even need in 10 years anymore. And this is ridiculous that we keep pushing those things onto people that they're not interested in.
Yeah, which is that. So what it is that we don't look forward. There's an opportunity, or it's not about even looking forward. It's about actually setting those intentions. Like the thing is that it's like, seeing what is possible, believing what is possible, being, approaching life with curiosity. And, as little humans, as young people do, little humans, sorry, I won't use that word, young humans do, they're curious and they want to explore. And it's like they pick things up, and it's like, and they pick things up and we tell them to stop.
And the Anunnaki come and they say, yeah, little humans.
So yeah, but it's like, we tell them, we tell them to put things down, or if they drop something and they make and they drop their water bottle or whatever, and it's like we don't bring them in and bring them in and see that it's like it's not a big deal to make a mess, and look, don't, by no means did I get 100%, like from the get-go. I mean, I've got loads of foibles, and the thing is that I come back to what you said, is that, you said you felt your mother. It's like, it's actually apologizing and to your own children, like, and if you do raise your voice, it's like, to be that, to have that ability to actually go, hang on, in that moment I actually wasn't in any way, I was actually fully in emotional reaction. I was reacting, react. I wasn't actually responding. And then And that shows, and that's how you lead by example. You know, that is how we as parents, and I mean, and it comes down to the fact that it does, you know, we have, it starts at the home, you know, and we can do all we can try all these things that we want to try and come down to, but it comes down to the fact that you have to be able to pull the mirror up into, you know, if you want to turn around, people say it's like, you know, I don't know why they're behaving this way. It's like, yeah, that's because you've got something to do with it. But not 100%. You know, it's like you've got to understand that they've been influenced. There's been other traumas. It's like, you know, the response, as you said, everyone responds differently, and everyone feels differently. There's 8 and a bit billion of us. You know, we are all different and have different stories, but we are universally connected. You know, from that I thing that you talked about, like this practice, I don't know where it actually came from. I think it was, well, I don't know who created it, so who owns the IP on it, because the thing is that I never want to sort of say it's this person's practice unless I knew the truth. But when I was doing my meditation teacher training, at the end, we in the immersion, we had an immersion week, and one of the activities that we did in that immersion week was we had 2 people, we made 2 lines of people, so facing opposite someone, and then we had 2 people at the end. And so you stood, held the hands of the person opposite you, and you looked in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And there was music playing in the background and sound bells, and then every minute or 2 minutes we would move. And so if you're at the end, you were looking at the eyes of the other person at the other end. That is exactly, it's an expansion of what you were talking about, because the thing is that moment you actually look in someone's eyes, you're actually looking into the soul. You are looking into that one. We are all one. You feel that. And that's, it is, I am you, you are me, we are one. That is it. And that is the word that is not taught.
This is also not the thing that we logically have, where it's easy to explain logically, though we have to experience. And no, as love, like love is not a thought. Love is a state of being. And I don't have to fall in love to be in love, to be love, to express love, right? To live it. Because then, like, once I find this place within myself, there is no separation.
That's right.
There's
So we've
you, me,
separated.
there is unity, right? And then we come together and we can create. Like what you say is with the eyes, and like, yeah, I'm just all about eye contact, right? Just to give the listeners a little bit of an, like, what you talk about, because I don't know what exactly which sentence you mean, because we've had a few conversations, though. Like, eye contact is super important, and I know that when people are triggered, people usually look in all sorts of directions, but they're not capable to hold the eye contact with you. So what I did last year is I practiced eye contact. And I was working in hospitality. I was serving people and doing the midday rush between 12 and 1:30, maybe sometimes 2. That was busy. I talked to 100 of people, or like I looked 100 people in the eyes. And for me as an empath and feeling other people, like, it has been very intense, right? And to protect my energy whatsoever. But I learned to love people unconditionally, no matter what they were try to project onto me. So I learned to look them in the eyes, and I haven't blinked with an eye. I mean, I can do this too. I don't want to look too creepy, but I don't need to be triggered anymore just because someone else looks me in the eyes, right? I can practice this because I have no judgments about myself any longer, so that I look other people in the eyes. And this is how I really resolved all the judgments that I still had about myself, because what I actually thought of other people was just in part of me that I haven't owned myself yet.
Yeah,
and then again, this has to be taught in leadership, right? To be certain, to be straightforward, not to be nice today and nasty on the other end, right? When we're not talking with each other. However, it is something that has to be educated about, and learning that we're actually, healing is as simple as looking someone genuinely in the eyes, and ourselves even in front of the mirror.
Yeah. And mirror work, it has been around and has been a tool for many, many years. And my first introduction was from, was back in, I think my first introduction was, I think I was most probably 18.
Mm,
And Louise Hay was the first person that I knew about mirror work. And because that's it. And so, and then if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, even whatever the shell looks like, it's then that's how you do the work. And it can be gentle, and you can come at it from a loving place. And sometimes, yes, you do, there needs to be what the doing sometimes is done in silence. Like
mm.
we sometimes, the less is more, as in, the more profound things come, it's within silence. And so with children, we need to share that with them and understand. And as you said, it's like, what is our purpose? What is our journey? Where are we heading? And and in business, we're taught, these sort of things are being talked about now. They're finally in the world. And it's like, so you need to be on purpose. And it's like, hang on, if we actually brought it back to, it's life, there's no work-life balance, it's actually life, and it's what you choose, the actions that you choose within that, this journey of this shell of Suzanne going through. It's okay, in this moment we need to make these decisions, and then be conscious of the fact that when you've made this decision, that it's coming from a place of the heart and it's love.
Mm.
And if it isn't coming from there, then you have to understand that there will be consequences.
Oh yeah.
So
Again, like there's something that I observed my whole life. I mentioned it yesterday in the conversation that like I'm observing my own tonality and the effect that I do have with the people that I talk to in the certain vibration with the certain vibration frequency that I carry within me. And it came back to intention. So what intent do I have when I have conversations? What intent do I have when I go out there and present myself to the world, right? What am I intending to do? And no matter what it is, you get it. You get a response, and it either works out or it doesn't. But you go out there and you can try. And if you have pure intention, and this again, that comes from the heart, it is not like that the logical mind has its limitations with this, but we have to bring that in alignment somehow, and talking with our heart to our brain, with our brain to our heart. When my mom told me, trust your intuition or listen to your intuition, and I'm like, what's that? She said the intuition is in your heart. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And I had difficulties to make that bridge, but I worked on it. And like, I mean, we can go anywhere with this conversation. What I want to talk about towards the end now is learning from people, the importance in your perspective also of the importance with the people that we hang out with and the people that we learn from. Because if I learn from someone who hasn't healed their own trauma, then it is difficult for them to teach me something in that area, right? If I seek out help because I have a trauma in owning my masculinity, right? If I go to someone who has trauma in that themselves, then it is difficult for them to give me an advice that helps, because when they're reacting and they're not going down into the pain with you, then it is very difficult to find it out anyway. So,
and that, look, that's a great thing to finish on, because the thing is that then will lead into an even bigger discussion, because the thing is that that's the crux of it all. Because the thing is that it's like, if you project that, then the response from this sponge that's on the other side, because that's what they are, they're these amazing sponges. And you have,
she talks about children, by the way.
not as in the sponges in the sea. It's like, wow, okay, hang on, you're trying, it's actually not you're actually doing a disservice rather than a service, because the thing is that you actually are only focusing on healing yourself. And and yet again, what it comes back to then is that then there's consequences to that, because that's why we need to look at, it's not just about changing the narrative of how we educate. It's about understanding that we do have traumas and how we navigate through those and dissolve them. And that's a grieving process itself, and it takes time. And so we need to be able to teach that. And so the whole thing is that it's taking away that blame and shame and unkindness, but putting it back onto the children is that we can teach them that it's like, okay, that's not yours. That's actually being projected onto you. What do you feel between you? As you said, your intuition, what do you feel? It's like, well, it doesn't feel kind, mummy, or it doesn't feel kind, daddy, or, it doesn't feel like it's the truth, dad. And it's like, or mum, and, or whoever, even if it's grandma or grandpa, whoever's the carer. And it's like, we actually have to listen to that, because as I said, back from the beginning, kids don't lie. They don't, from the very, very young age. It's like, if we don't trust ourselves, that's when we start going, like for them to, because it's how we respond. So for them to come and tell you something, it's like, you don't respond with, oh, are you telling the truth? Because then you've put doubt straight away. There you go. You've planted that seed of doubt, where it's like, okay, tell me what's happened. Where do we go? And then it's like, how do we respond? It's a massive topic, and it's a deep thing for me. And this is the reason why, I'm very conscious of, we also have to be very mindful of who we do hang out with and who we ask for help. And so we have to be able to learn how to create our own integrity bubble, around. And this is where it comes down to, is that we actually have to understand that, we have this, like a molecule, we have this very thin layer around us, but the power that exists on that very thin layer on a molecule is that it lets none of the good stuff out, and it doesn't let any bad stuff come in. And I don't always like using the words good and bad, but sometimes it's just easier to just understand.
Yeah.
But that's the purpose of a molecule, when you have a molecule and it has that very thin integrity layer.
It gives us the perspective, right? I'm not too much a fan of labeling as well, but again, like humans, like it is what we do. I don't know why we're doing it. I haven't put my head around that yet, but like label, right? And I want to talk about the topic coaches as well now a little bit, like in the coaching world, because like, then again, if I go to a coach who hasn't healed their trauma and wants to help me with my stuff, and they have the same stuff going on, and then it's just, again, a pure reflection of what is going on. And I've had this with own clients as well, that I would realize that I was actually healing myself, and I'm like, well, this is nuts.
It's not good. That's right.
This doesn't go into the right direction. So it's something to change, right? And what I love doing now is, like, I love counseling, right, with the expertise that I have through life experience, contemplation about life, body language, tonality, inner knowing, intuition, and the cosmic information that I do receive, and acting as a pure channel rather than through what is out there with NLP. And as an example, it can be used for good or for bad, right? And then the power that is behind that, it is dangerous, because if the ego takes over, and someone who hasn't done the inner work yet, someone who hasn't found love within themselves yet, then it turns out to be distorted at some points. And then are we actually helping, or are we doing harm to other people? And this whole concept we can push onto parenting, we can place onto education and system and teachers, business, right? So everything. We can place the same example. It's just like, it's just another part of what is going on, where we have to bring awareness to. And why I'm so thrilled to help children And I mentioned it again, like it's the inner child that we have to heal collectively, because this is what we suppressed. This is the purity, the innocence, the joy, right, that comes with it. And this is what for generations got suppressed and not celebrated, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's actually, you know, for me it feels like we've, you know, come full circle in a container.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I'll just close it with this, where it's like, I remember a few years ago I was asked, it was like, you know, for a pitch, and it was like, Suzanne, what's your purpose? And I said, to dissolve the entire world of violence. And power of words, now in reflection, those words need to change, and I'm aware of that. But where that came from was that by a generation, and it came from a quote from the Dalai Lama. And there's also other teachers that have said very similar stuff, which is, if every 8-year-old meditated daily, in one generation, we would have no violence. And so I then I look at it and go, well, if we guided every emerging soul on a path of self-love, self-care, self-trust, self-respect, self-healing, we would have that.
We would have a collective that is self-actualized.
Yeah.
Right? Self-realization.
That would remember.
Like, whoa.
That would remember the
remembering.
Beauty. The remembering
right?
of the beauty of oneness and the
and
beauty of what love is.
Exactly. And it is remembering. The journey that I've been on in the last years was about remembering. And I remember childhood. I kind of go back to the womb of my mom. And I remember. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. And yeah, thank you for the conversation. And I'm sure there's more.
Oh, there is,
more
definitely.
to come. And it is a beautiful beginning of generally what we're experiencing here collectively, because everyone starts to ask themselves questions, and everyone becomes more aware and curious, and we have to listen, which is a key aspect of growth and development.
And hear as well. So there's listening, and we also need to hear and feel.
Someone asked me, "Hey Jarne, how do you listen?" I'm like, whoa, I know you don't want to hear, like, I know you don't want to hear with my ears right now. I know you go deeper with this question. And he said, I'm like, whoa, I struggle with this. And he says, with your whole body, or with your whole being.
Yeah, the being.
Listening with the whole being, and then sensations, feelings, right? All of it.
Yeah, you taste it. Yeah, you see it. Yeah, you feel it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if people want to be in contact with you, where can people find you?
So my handle is Soul Archaeology, which is SOULARCHAEOLOGY. And so that's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. So they can reach me on any and that's the simplest way to contact me.
Awesome. Let's restructure the educational system and generally the planet, I'd say.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. You're highly appreciated. And yeah, like, subscribe, share if you got value out of it, right? Comment, let us know what you think, your insights. And yeah, let's learn together. Let's grow together. Watch also the next episode, share it with your friends and family, and see you in the next one. Thank you.